Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and at this point, I think it's safe to say that it will perhaps require a little bit of playing the waiting game before we see the price of XRP actually catch up to the value of what XRP and the XRP ledger can actually offer, just in terms of utility. Maybe we'll have to wait. The reason I say that is, if you take a look at what's on your screen right here, XRP Liquidity Index hits new all-time high. Now, what they're referencing here is the corridor that's most frequently touted in crypto media from the United States to Mexico. We're talking about on-demand liquidity, XRP being used as a bridge currency. But what's fascinating, and there hasn't been a news article about this that I've seen yet. Maybe I missed it, but I haven't seen it yet. But I did see today, for the first time ever, the liquidity index for XRP/PHP, the corridor of United States to the Philippines. And the liquidity there is also at an all-time high and spiking up quickly, in particular over the last several days. I'm going to show you this, so it's fascinating. So the two corridors that Ripple's first targeting, my gosh, see, the actual success there, and most of the world doesn't understand this, but it will ultimately be understood. So I'm going to be digging into this. Other than that, I also wanted to cover in a video I made yesterday. I talked a little bit about this Saga coin because it was starting to be talked about somewhat widely within the XRP community. And there's an XRP community member, and I shared some of his tweets with you, and he expressed a couple concerns, including perhaps this Saga stablecoin maybe taking the place, in terms like solving the remittance problem, money moving around the world, money flow problem, and trumping perhaps XRP, this or that, things along those lines. And I'm not going to rehash what was covered in that video yesterday, but I encourage you to check it out if you're curious. But I wanted to share with you because he watched that video, and I did want to share with you the string of tweets that he had, just to kind of bring the story full circle and close the thing off here. But before we get going any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button. If you're a fan of Ripple and XRP, and you believe that utility matters and will win the day, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel, because that will make you a cool person. All right, so let's dig into this one. The liquidity index of XRP on the Mexican Ripple's... what is with me in words right now? Jeez. The liquidity index of XRP on the Mexican Ripple's partner Bitso exchange has reached a new all-time high, blasting past the $7 million mark. The largest Mexican exchange, Bitso, is a partner of Ripple and MoneyGram in the on-demand liquidity corridor to Mexico, where XRP trades against the local peso. 3 weeks ago, the liquidity index of XRP on this platform reached the level of $6,792,777. On Wednesday, this amount was exceeded by a higher figure. And true enough, yesterday I actually mentioned this, and I was like, I bet there'll be a story about it tomorrow. And there was. Sure enough, there was. The previous all-time high for XRP on Bitso was reached on November 20th, hitting almost $6,793,000. On Wednesday, December 11th, this value reached $7,095,831 as reported by the Twitter bot. And you can see that's what's on the screen here right now. And of course, you know what they're going to get into, of course, despite this blah, blah, blah price, and they do so, despite the growth of XRP liquidity, which is obviously a good sign for crypto, the price of XRP remains in the red. However, it has recently managed to recover the 22-cent level as per CoinMarketCap. And that's why I said at the outset of the video, most people don't know what the hell is going on, and it's just going to take a bit of time for it to catch up, and I don't know what that means. I don't know what the timeline will be. It just is evident to me. And the reason I'm so confident is because when humans create something of genuine value, look, there's enough people here that recognize that it's not just going to get thrown away. It's already in place. So to me, it's just a matter of, and I don't know the timeline again, but it's a matter of time until it's recognized on a much wider level, But you look, given that in terms of price action, I know. Okay, so utility is the most important thing ultimately, because that's what's going to drive price, right? Because that's what will give people confidence to invest in their staying power. This crypto's not going away because businesses are actually using it, right? That whole concept right there. Even so, in the short term, I'm not saying, even if we have to wait a long time for that level of recognition of utility, I'm not saying that you won't see notable parabolic run-ups in price of XRP prior to that. And I'm not making a price prediction. This is not financial advice. But again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that won't happen, because it's an undeniable fact of life that today in 2019, XRP is tethered to the price action of Bitcoin. It just is. And if you think about like in 2017, I like the analogy of like a kinked hose. Because if you think about it, what happens when you unkink a hose? The water spurts out and then it gets back to a normal flow, right? Well, it's funny. It's like XRP from May to mid-December 2017, for that roughly 6-month period. The price of XRP, is fine, volatile. It's crypto, but it was more or less flat. It was trading within an air band and it's just all of a sudden out of nowhere. It's like the hose is unkinked and XRP just took off. That type of stuff can still happen. A lot of that has to do with Bitcoin leading it first, because in this case, Bitcoin it did. Bitcoin ran up to almost $20,000 first. And a lot of that, when there's this parabolic movement without actual utility, it's just like these people in general know there's something to this crypto thing, but they don't know which coins will be winners and losers, right? And so that's why there's still a frenzy around it. But anyway, take a look at this now, though. This is the liquidity index spot showing liquidity, XRP liquidity, XRP/PHP, and it's showing a 28-day moving trend right here. And you can see really over the last several days or so, because if you're looking at the screen, if you're driving, don't worry about it, but hands on the wheel, motorist, hands at 10 and 2, once you become crashed into something. But going back, I don't know, how many days is this? Like the last several days or so, you can see it started to spike, but like dramatically so. And so I don't really have any word on specifically what's driving this, but there are obviously... there's obviously more than one participant in this ecosystem, right? So, the point being, presumably this is actually real-world adoption, because otherwise, why the hell is it running up like that? So, it's just a matter of time. All right, next here, Saga. I'm going to read just a few sentences from their main page, just so you can hear Saga described the way that Saga wants itself to be described. And then I'm going to jump into the tweets. But again, I'm not going to rehash everything from yesterday when I just talked about this. You can find the video if you want. It was literally yesterday. But here's the main page. And so here you go. Towards worldwide money. A token only becomes a currency once it is used by markets as a store of value and means of exchange. To date, no blockchain-based contender has achieved this goal. Adoption as currency is contingent upon the fulfillment of several conditions, chiefly tamed volatility, regulatory oversight, and efficient governance. Saga addresses all of these in its proposition for a new global currency. So they literally are trying to make what they said, a global currency, and presumably, ideally, knock out all the rest, which is not going to happen. That's just not... No, different humans, I mentioned it yesterday, like I got into it in more detail, but I'll just mention it here. Different people have different motivating factors. No one currency is going to rule the world ever, whether it's crypto or just anything. Traditional ledger, it's not happening. All right. So here's some tweets after All the Way 08, he's the one, and shout out to you if you're listening. He's a real sharp guy. He shared a couple of his concerns, and then I responded to that. I didn't really share those concerns, but I love the thoughtful approach to like considering what might happen, because my whole thing about like one of my favorite things on this channel, when I'm not saying silly stupid things, is I love to engage in critical thinking, and that's absolutely what All the Way 08 was doing here. And so I gave him my response in the video yesterday, and here is his response. And he's got 5 tweets. I'm just going to read them all in a row here. So he tagged me and wrote, listened to your Saga vid. I liked your point about the steep adoption curve of a crypto becoming the one world currency. With all the different geopolitical interests of nations, it would make that trust gaining very difficult. Here is another issue I see with Saga. It is starting out centralized, and I'm assuming he who holds the most controls it, since the act of holding it lets you vote. If all nations set aside their differences and agreed to adopt this thing, they'd have to agree on some set allocation, and in parentheses he writes, impossible in our geopolitical landscape. I firmly agree with that. If they all wanted to adopt it, but no one could agree on an amount, you'd have a volatile time of countries trying to hoard it, and then in parentheses he writes, why would they though, since it's just a basket of currencies and nations could just issue their own stablecoin? Basically, a project like Saga would have to rely on retail adoption and or countries that have lost control of their currency. That would require a lot of infrastructure building. Then he writes in parentheses, like you pointed out in your video. They don't have a massive global platform like Facebook, after all. I appreciate the exercise. It's good to think about this stuff, especially when you can bet that the master races of other coins will say this is a XRP killer. Yeah, now that part is definitely true. I'm still actually kind of waiting for it. I don't know if I didn't scroll through my Twitter feed enough today. Maybe I didn't. But yeah, anytime there's any sort of coin out there that's trying to solve the way in which money moves around the planet, there's always a claim, oh, it's an XRP killer, blah, 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 this or that. Of course, stablecoins could never do that because they don't actually solve the fundamental problem of trust as it pertains to the way money moves around the planet today. But yeah, no, I love your thinking. That was rather insightful all the way 08. So shout out to you, good sir. Everything you wrote there, I'm completely in line with. Yeah, that I agree with you. The reasons you cited here are make it pretty clear, in addition to others, but these make it pretty clear as to why this thing isn't going to do what they want it to do, and it's certainly not going to be used as a bridge currency for cross-border payments. And plus on top of that, like I cited in the video yesterday, nobody's even building out infrastructure for that to occur, to integrate with the existing system. It's more like I mentioned with Bitcoin. You wouldn't need a bridge currency if everybody just used Bitcoin technically, right? You could just all use Bitcoin for your anything used for fiat, just use Bitcoin in place of it. In theory, yeah, you could do that. But there are a litany of reasons why that hasn't happened and won't happen. It goes back to people wanting different things in life, and that's why XRP solves a real problem today without requiring the whole world to just embrace one cryptocurrency or just a currency in general. It's not going to happen, ever. So there you go. But anyway, yeah, again, like I said, shout out to you, and thank you very much for bringing this to my attention in the first place. I thought it was really fun to think through as well, so I appreciate the back and forth there. All right, next, here's a tweet from Get Into Crypto on Twitter, who tagged me along with some other XRP community members here and wrote, any ideas why Ripple might be showing this price today? I'm not complaining, but I am skeptical. And here you can see the XRP price was listed at 45.74 cents. And it was indeed an error. I checked before recording this video, and they finally fixed it. But I'm telling you, it was wrong for days. I saw people talking about this in my Twitter feed for days, literally. But thankfully, it's actually fixed, and you can see that it's down to its admittedly lower pricing, 21.92 cents at the time of recording here. But yeah, anyway. So, but I want to say a shout out to you, Get Into Crypto, and thank you very much for tagging me. But that is it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!